Moral of the story, don't sleep on the first floor. In 2014, a young woman woke up to strange noises coming from under her bed. When she finally worked up the courage to look, there was nothing there. The next morning when she got up, there were footprints leading right up to the sliding door that went right into her room. She instantly calls her dad, who comes over and traces the footsteps back to a house of a very troubled teen who admitted to spying on her. But he swore up and down he hadn't done that in weeks. They don't believe him, and they threaten to call the police if they ever see him on the property again. That night, the girl's on her phone in bed when she starts to hear the strange sounds again.
My neighbor waved at me this morning, but I found out he passed last night. This morning around 7:30, I was taking out the trash like usual. My neighbor across the street waved at me from his porch. He always does. Same gray hoodie, same slow wave. I waved back, didn't think anything of it. About an hour later, I saw flashing lights out front, 2 sheriff units. Then a coroner van pulled up. I walked over and asked what happened. One of the officers said he passed away last night around 9:40 p.m. No one found him until this morning. I told him, I saw the guy. I waved to him. The officer just stared at me. Then he asked, was he wearing anything specific? I said, yeah, a gray hoodie. The cop looked at his partner, then said, that's what he was found in. Slumped in a chair inside, he never left the house. He waved first, and he smiled like he always does.
Anytime I think of this story that happened to me, I get full body chills, so I just have to give you guys a story time. Let's start off by saying that I am not somebody who believes in paranormal activity, ghosts, or anything like that. Just like not my thing. I'm Catholic, I grew up Catholic, and just like, I'm not into it, okay? And you know what? Feel free to tell me that I'm being dramatic. I don't want to believe that this is anything of that sort. I'm good. I'm not the one, okay? I'm seriously not the one. So if you guys think that I'm like being dramatic or whatever, you have some scientific backup for this, I want to hear it. And I do have videos for proof. Let me just give you guys a quick background story. It was my fiance's birthday. He was my boyfriend at the time. This was like in 2022-ish. We had a massive pool party for him at my mom's house. So I was living at my mom's house at the time. I wasn't living with him yet. And I got balloons for him for his birthday, obviously. There was one balloon that just said happy birthday Nat. It was like a helium balloon, I believe. It's like one of those like see-through ones that you can like see through it and there's like confetti in it. So it's a couple days after the party and the balloons are just chilling on the main floor. I want to say it's like 3-4 days after the party. And I am home alone. So I'm in my bedroom, nothing new. Reminder, the balloons have been in this house for like 3 days already. And please just take a look at what happens.
What? Oh my gosh, this literally just floated into my room. It literally just peeked its way through my door. It's coming back down towards me. Oh my gosh, I'm really scared.
And mind you guys, my mom's house has 5 bedrooms on the top floor, okay? And I was sending these Snapchats to my friends like in real time as it was happening just because like I couldn't believe my eyes. I was literally like, how did this one balloon come to my bedroom? I'm the only one home. How did it come to my bedroom of all bedrooms? Like my mom's house is super intricate. Like I don't know how to explain it. It's just, it made absolutely no sense. The staircase is like on the other side of the house. There's 2 staircases to go up. There's walls, there's bends. It's just, it's literal insanity. But that's not even the most of it. Keep watching.
I'm petrified. I'm scared. Like, I'm really scared. I can't move. I'm still. Oh my gosh. It's like facing me. I feel like it's facing me now. My room. This balloon was in my kitchen. I'm too scared to get up right now. Scared to get up right now. Like,
And I know what you guys are probably thinking. Allegra, it could have just been the airflow of your house. And little me actually put that to the test. I moved the balloon to a bunch of different rooms just to see if it was airflow. But my family's just not like that. Like, we're not cranking up the AC. We don't have windows open. It's not, that wasn't the case.
Update. I moved the balloon into my mom's closet, but I didn't shut the door completely. But that's like complete different airflow from downstairs. So this is kind of like a test. If it comes back into my room, I'm moving out.
So here I am thinking, I'm never gonna see that balloon again. Like, it's gone now. And in the corner of my eye, there she is.
Guys, I moved it back down. Guys, I moved it back down. Guys, I moved it back down and it's coming back. I swear if it comes in here. Okay. Okay. This is my cue to leave. I'm out. I'm out of here. I'm out. Oh my gosh. Oh my gosh. Okay, we are going to get guys. Guys, if I was still sitting here, this is what I would have seen.
So basically, if I was still sitting in my bed in my original position, watching my computer, this balloon would be right beside me, facing me. What? Okay, and this is the kicker of this entire story, because this is what's leading me to believe that this wasn't just a balloon in my house following me. You can see in that exact same night, I shit you guys not, it was an hour before this whole balloon thing went down. I took a Snapchat in my mirror in my bedroom, and my sweatshirt says the following.
What's that?
Like, do you guys remember when like Kanye West dropped that merch and those sweatshirts were really popular? I can't believe like I was wearing that and then all this shit just happened. It's like, is that just a coincidence? Or am I being crazy? Am I being dramatic? Like, I don't know. What do you guys think of this story? Because anytime I think about it, I get full body chills, like, and just the whole feel of the entire night was just so off. I literally moved out. I literally moved out of the house after that. Super freaky. Let me know what you guys think.
I'm going to tell you the story of my great aunt who was a seer. And she was a Christian. She loved the Lord. She read her Bible. She could see things that most people could not see, whether she wanted to or not. The story that I'm going to tell you was one that she told me when I was very young. Still gives me chills to this day. She had just had my cousin, and my cousin was probably about 6 weeks old. My aunt went to stay with a friend, and she had just laid my cousin down and was reading her Bible. Well, she said that there was a loud noise, like a train coming through the house. And where her friend that she was staying with lived, we'll call her Betty, there were no trains, according to my aunt. And so she was a little startled, and she was worried that my cousin would wake up. And so she, kind of looked over at her, made sure she was still sleeping, and when she looked back, Betty was walking into her guest bedroom where she was staying. Well, Betty was a very tiny lady, very petite, didn't make a lot of noise when she walked, except on this particular night when she was walking, her footsteps were very heavy, like she weighed way more than she did. And it startled my Aunt Becky, of course. So my aunt says, Betty, what are you doing? You know, are you okay? Is everything all right? Betty didn't speak, and so she was getting kind of a weird feeling, and she's had a lot of experiences with the spirit world, so she knew what was up. She kind of started getting a vibe that Betty wasn't Betty. So she says, Betty, are you okay? She asks her again, and Betty speaks to her. But when Betty speaks, it's not Betty's voice. Betty is speaking with a very deep, manly voice. And she tells my aunt to put down her Bible, because my aunt was reading her Bible. She tells her to put down her Bible and follow me in a very deep voice. And that's when my Aunt Becky said, okay, you know, I understand the assignment. This is not my friend Betty. My Aunt Becky does what any Southern, God-fearing woman would do in a weird situation like that. She begins to plead the blood of Jesus Christ over herself, over her child, and over sweet Betty. Well, she closes her eyes and she begins to pray out loud. My aunt does not stop praying until the train sound stops. So, when she no longer hears what sounds like a train, she opens her eyes again, and Betty's gone. Was sweet Betty sleepwalking and found herself in my Aunt Becky's guest room?
So check this crazy ass loophole I just went through. I nutted in the condom. Put water in the condom. Okay? Then, you want to take it a step further, put the condom over a light. At that point, you're going to see a homemade lava lamp. Not gabbing though.
So story time. I promise you will be entertained, but if you start the story, please stay till the end. So when I was 5 years old, my entire family was killed in a car crash, and I was the sole survivor. When I turned 18, I decided to move out of state for college because I didn't really have any friends or family in the area anyway. I ended up going to Massachusetts. When I got there, I didn't really know anybody. It was a totally new environment. It was unfamiliar. It was kind of scary, but eventually I met a guy at the school. He was really nice. We started dating. Eventually we got a place together, and we lived in that house together for 3 years, and we were happy the whole time. Like, he's very, very sweet, very caring, very loving. You know, I just didn't feel alone for the first time, and it was absolutely wonderful. But around the 3-year mark, I started going through something. I started not to feel good. So obviously my first guess was pregnancy, so I took a pregnancy test, but that wasn't it. I was having like headaches and stomach aches and feeling nauseated all the time, feeling like extra sleepy, but it wasn't really like life-ruining symptoms. So I just started doing like ginger for the nausea and like soup if I had a tummy ache, you know, a little bit of Excedrin if I had a headache, you know, whatever, you make it work. But the symptoms just kind of kept getting worse. And like sometimes they would be so bad, I'd have a migraine or a nausea to the point that I couldn't even get up out of bed. And my boyfriend's like, babe, I think you should go see a doctor. And I'm like, what is a doctor gonna do? Like, it's not like I can't breathe. It's not like I have chest pain. I just have random unspecified symptoms. Like, what is he gonna do? But he's like, babe, like, you do not feel good. Like, you should go see a doctor. And I'm like, fine, whatever. So he schedules me a doctor's appointment. I go see the doctor, and it's exactly what I thought it was gonna be. The doctor is just like, there's nothing wrong with you. And I'm like, cool. So I go back home, and things don't get better, but they start to get worse. Because now I'm not just feeling physically bad, I'm feeling bad mentally. And I don't mean my emotions. I'm not sad or depressed. I'm dealing with confusion. I keep finding things in my house in weird places that they shouldn't be. I open my kitchen drawer to get out cutlery, fork, knife. All my earrings are in there. I go look at my jewelry rack. All my cutlery's in there. Paintings that were hanged on the wall are like turning upside down. And at first I'm just like, okay, you know, whatever. These things are very bizarre, but they're not really frightening. Like, I'm just trying to make this logical or reasonable in any way that I can. but I'm forgetting appointments. My fatigue is increasing. Like, it's just so much happening. And then it starts off slow. Little shadows of, like, in my peripheral vision. Little sounds. And like, you can have those things normally. Like, I think we all have those things occasionally. But they're coming more common and more frequent. And I'm starting to lose, like, time. Like, whole days I cannot remember. So finally I make myself an appointment. I go see a therapist. She does the intake, my assessment, and she's like, okay, you fit the diagnostic criteria for schizophrenia. So that was kind of like hard to hear, but at the same time I was thinking, okay, well, now we know what's wrong with me. I can get some help. And my therapist assured me, like, the medication we have these days can make your symptoms like almost nothing. You can go back to living a normal life. And I'm very grateful. I'm like, okay, good. So I break the news to my boyfriend, which was really scary because he was such a sweet and supportive person. I was just scared of being too much of a burden on him or losing him because he was kind of the only person that I had. But he was super sweet, super supportive. He held me while I cried. He went to go pick up my medication for me after running me a bath, like, just really taking care of me. So I start taking my medicines, but things do not get better. In fact, they get worse because any kind of visuals or auditory hallucinations I was having are becoming more and more and more defined. And we switched medications like 2 or 3 times, and my therapist is like, oh, sometimes, you gotta switch medications a couple times until you find what works. But things are actively getting worse, and I'm seeing and hearing things in my house, and I know that, like, it feels so real. So at this point, I become convinced that I'm not sick, but my house is haunted. I know that sounds insane, but when you are dealing with so much confusion, bizarre things in your house, bizarre noises, like, you become afraid and you're willing to believe almost like anything that could possibly make things better. So I start getting into like these spiritual people talking about the paranormal, and I start trying to like do different things, like I'm burning sage, I'm doing like, whatever. And finally one day my boyfriend has to go help his dad with something. So he leaves me home alone, and I don't fully know what happened, but I do know that apparently I ended up leaving my house a little bit scantily clad, and apparently I was just kind of running around aimlessly, got picked up by the police, taken to the hospital, and obviously psych. And I wake up in the hospital, and as soon as I wake up, the nurse is all over me, like white on rice. And she tells me just wait right there a moment. And I don't know how much time has passed. All I know is that I just woke up in the hospital. And I'm in a room by myself, completely isolated. There's nobody else there. And she comes back with a doctor, my therapist, 3 people, a man, a woman, and another girl. And they're all nicely dressed, beautiful people. And they look really familiar to me. But I'm like, I don't know. I'm not sure of anything anymore. And somebody who is not in a hospital uniform, and that person is in a police uniform. So now I'm looking at this cop and this room full of people like, what did I do? What did I do? I'm afraid. So I asked them, like, am I in trouble? Am I in trouble? And they're like, no, you're not in trouble. You're not in trouble. But, I'm thinking they're just saying that to get me to, like, talk about whatever it was that happened. So the cop is, he's asking me all these questions. Then the doctor cuts in and asks questions. And the nurse is writing a bunch of things down. And the therapist is writing a bunch of things down. But their questions are, like, mad normal. They're just like, what's your name? How old are you? Where did you go to school? Where did you grow up? Tell us about your family. Da da da. And I'm like, okay, like, where are we getting to all this? And I'm just assuming, I've never been in this situation before in like a psych, whatever. So I'm just sitting there thinking like, okay, whatever. I don't know their policy. So finally, they end up telling me that they have to give me some news. And my heart is pounding out of my chest at this point, because what news are you about to give me? I guarantee you guys cannot predict what the news was. My name was not the name that I thought I was. In fact, I was not the girl that I thought that I was. Apparently, when I was 17, I was working at the country club that my parents were a part of, and I was a lifeguard. and there was a boy there whose family was not part of the country club, but he had like a small summer job washing dishes or something. And he developed a very unhealthy fixation on me. And he made me very uncomfortable, and he was following me and watching me, and my family was very worried about it. My friends were very worried about it, but I wasn't worried about it because I was just like, whatever, I'm going to be leaving for college soon, and I was an Ohio kid, and I was going to the Ohio State University, and I was very excited about that. The boy, when the summer ended, went to college, and guess where he went to college? Massachusetts. The boyfriend that I had been living with for 3+ years, he actually kidnapped me, took me to Massachusetts, made me shave my head and wear wigs, used a combination of hypnosis tactics, medicines, and illegal substances and abuse to brainwash me into thinking I was a totally different girl. He told me that my family had died in a car crash. That was absolutely not true. My entire family is alive and well, and they were the 3 people that were in the hospital room when I woke up. He was using sedatives and hallucinogens and any illegal substance basically he could get his hands on to make me think that I was going crazy so that my dependence on him would never end. Oh, and I know that you're probably thinking, oh, but didn't he tell you to go to the doctor? Yeah, he did. The doctor he sent me to was his dad, who was previously a doctor, but lost his nursing license for basically being inappropriate with patients. And get this, his father was a serial unaliver responsible for the deaths of 8 women in Hyannis. And when I was taken into the hospital, they were finally able to identify me and give me my life back. If you stayed until the end of this video, that was completely fake. That was only for entertainment purposes. None of those things happened to me. I do make original horror content. I am an author and a poet. I hope you guys liked my story. If you stayed for the whole thing, if you would like to see more original horror content on my channel, comment down below. I really hope you guys were entertained by that. Thanks.
Oh, yeah, one more thing. If y'all see me on Love Island, mind your fucking business, bitch. I'm trying to find love, bitch. Y'all had y'all motherfucking chance.
This teenager was so obsessed with serial killers that she wanted to become one. She idolized and worshipped serial killers so much that at only 18 years old, she wanted to dedicate her life to becoming the most famous and prolific serial killer in all of history. This is a case from Germany, and due to Germany's strict privacy laws, a lot of information from today's case is actually missing, including the true identity of our killer. So we're just gonna call her Sarah. And Sarah, unlike most killers, actually had a pretty good childhood. She seemingly had really loving, supportive parents. She got good grades, she had a lot of friends, and then everything changed when she became a teenager. And a bit of teenage rebellion is normal. Sarah started dressing in darker clothes, listening to heavier music, skipping school from time to time, but things were much darker than that. At only 16 years old, Sarah spread a rumor about herself at school that she was an S worker, like a lady of the night. This wasn't true, but Sarah's friends started to realize that Sarah was lying all the time. It seemed like she liked to shock people. She liked attention, even if it was negative attention. And actually really quick, because I just realized I forgot to say this in my intro, I know a lot of you guys have been asking me for more or longer content, especially if all of this goes away. So the second episode of Hot on the Case is out right now, and you can find all the platforms where you can find it on my profile. Now back to the case. It was around this time that Sarah got her first ever boyfriend, a boy named Leon, and the relationship was really intense, and Leon actually ended up breaking up with Sarah because he was scared of her, and for good reason, because as soon as he broke up with her, she started planning how she would kill him. At this point, Sarah's interests, her life had gotten so dark and disturbing. Sarah became obsessed with serial killers, and I'm not talking about an interest in true crime or being fascinated with psychology. Sarah worshipped these serial killers. She idolized them. She was crushing on them like some serial killer fangirl, especially Richard Ramirez, the Night Stalker. He was the background on her phone, and also she had posters of him and Ted Bundy covering her bedroom. And at this point, she's 17 years old to like early 18 years old. And I'm just wondering what her family, like her parents, think about all this. Sarah began fantasizing about becoming a serial killer, but Sarah didn't want to be like any serial killer. She wanted to be the most famous and prolific of all time. Sarah wanted to have more victims than any other serial killer in history. And she began like Googling how she was going to do that. She literally made a Google search that said, what is the best way to become a serial killer? So clearly she's no evil genius. In April of 2021, she bought a very large 12-inch sharp weapon and then began hunting for her first victims. Sarah signed up for like a bunch of dating apps and sugar baby sites under the username Domina Cherry. Her bio on these dating sites was that she was a teen girl who had never slept with anyone before, but was also into like really rough stuff. And she planned to meet a bunch of men this way because at this point she decided like she really just hated men and wanted to kill all men after her breakup with Leon. And she planned to meet men this way and then lure them into like a secluded area where she would end their lives. Because of the certain bio that Domina Cherry chose for her dating sites and her like sugar baby sites, she started getting a lot of attention. She actually got over 220 messages from men on these sites in less than 3 days. Sarah had a date planned for May 3rd, May 4th, and May 5th, with the plan to kill each man on each date 3 days in a row. But her first victim that Sarah chose was a 39-year-old man named Zayed. And he messaged her on May 1st, and they planned to meet up that very night. Sarah had already told a handful of her friends about her plans to become this terrible serial killer, but right before she planned to meet up with Zayed, Sarah actually left a voicemail for one of her friends, a girl named Francesca, saying that she was about to kill her first one and to wish her good luck. And I know Sarah is like known for being a liar at this point, but like when Francesca gets that voicemail from Sarah, she doesn't go to the police, she doesn't tell anyone. All Francesca does is make a Google search of her own. Can I get in trouble if I know about a murder? The answer is yes. Zayed picked Sarah up around 8 p.m. and she directed him to a remote cabin that her family owned in the woods that actually did not exist. And once Sarah had Zayed turn onto like a secluded dirt road, she took out her 12-inch sharp weapon and plunged it into his neck. Zayed actually attempted to like fight off Sarah, and he was able to like hold his wound to stop the bleeding, and he just like took off. He ran towards the main road where a car stopped. They like helped him like a little bit because the person in the car was actually a nurse, and then they called the ambulance. The ambulance came and rushed him to the hospital. Meanwhile, Sarah is like also panicking, and she also ran away towards like the nearest town because Sarah didn't expect Zayed to like fight back. She just thought that he would automatically die. Sarah ran all the way to a nearby town, and she's looking completely disheveled. She's covered in blood, and she's just whispering to herself, I'm a killer. I'm a murderer. So onlookers in the town called 911, obviously. Sarah was arrested and taken into police custody like 30 minutes after attacking Zayed. And I find it so funny, well, not funny because she's a killer, but you know what I mean, that Sarah wanted to be this like prolific serial killer that never got caught, and she was gonna have the most victims of any serial killer ever. And she got caught like 30 minutes later, like a half hour later. And I call Sarah a killer because although the hospital did as much as they could, the damage that Sarah did to Zayed was just far too much, and he did pass away surrounded by his family. And Zayed has definitely been scrutinized in his case for his decision to want to meet up with an 18-year-old girl. But Zayed's loved ones say that Zayed was a very good man. He was not the type to like look for hookups. And at the time of his death, he was looking for a long-term relationship and to settle down. And Sarah has never shown remorse once, and actually has only ever felt bad for herself because she got caught too early and didn't kill more men. And behind bars, Sarah actually tried to get her mom to kill her ex-boyfriend Leon because that was like her main target all along. Her mom said no, by the way. I don't think I made that clear. Her mom said she would not do that. And due to Sarah's young age, she received no prison time and was actually only sentenced to 12 years in a psychiatric hospital. and she could be released when she's 31 years old, which honestly really, really terrifies me because I think Sarah is a scary, scary girl and a danger to society. And as for Sarah's friend Francesca, who got that voicemail and knew that Sarah planned to kill Zayed, she was arrested and was facing 5 years in prison, but the charges were dropped. And that's all I have for today's case. Hope you guys all had a very happy new year, happy holidays, and I hope you guys know that you guys were truly one of the biggest blessings of my 2024. Make sure you guys all check out the second episode of Hot on the Case, and I will see you guys tomorrow. Love you.
Another scary story, and this one comes from Pakistan. So this story is slightly longer, a series of events that occurred in a year at my house, which I still live in. We used to have a tenant who lived in our annex. An annex is an additional part of the main house. So she had been living with us for over 27 years, so she came way before my birth. She was married, but her husband had remarried and lived with another family and rarely ever visited her. And she had several other personal issues that I don't know much about in detail. But back in 2017, my brother got married and my dad decided to get the annex portion of the house emptied, as he wanted my brother and his wife to have their own portion so they could live comfortably in that annex. When my dad told the tenant to vacate, she was not happy and refused. And when my father became firm that we needed that portion given back to us, she began giving us threats that we would regret this forever. Keep in mind, she was given all the time in the world to move out. There was no short deadline that she should act this way. So she was given over like 6 months notice. Okay, that's enough time for somebody to vacate. So my dad stood firm on his stance as we needed that vacated portion. We didn't have enough room for the growing family as it was in our other home. Soon after that, weird things started happening, all of which were very creepy. So the room I stayed in and the main bedroom of my tenant were only divided by one wall. And since my house was very old, all the rooms were joined by doors. So there was a door that opened between our rooms. Not a good sign. However, since that portion was on rent, my dad closed the door and put a full-size mirror on it to cover it up. The first incident that began occurring was that I would hear weird sounds from behind the mirror late at night. It would sound like someone with very long nails was scratching at the mirror and kind of knocking on it. It obviously freaked me out. One day I called my brother and dad and they said it's probably one of the mice that lives in the tenant's house on that side, as she had kept the house very dirty, that mice, lizards, and other animals would be found roaming around in the house. Ew. If I ever had a tenant that kept it like that, I'd be like, yo, you gotta go, or either, maintain it, because it's like your house, right? Anyways, I still had my doubts. I did not believe them. It did not sound like a mouse. It sounded more like scratching and knocking, which would freak me out every night and prevent me from sleeping. Soon things started getting worse and more intense. Every time I would sleep early, I would be woken up with some weird incidents. Sometimes something would shake me awake, someone would slap me, or I would feel like someone jumped onto the bed next to me. But every time I woke up, there was no one there. This freaked me out so much that I was unable to go to bed before dawn, or when it would get lighter outside, or before my parents woke up. One night, I fell asleep early as I was very tired, around 3 a.m. Someone threw a whole glass of water on me to wake me up. I woke up very confused and looked around the house, thinking maybe my brother played a prank on me. Keep in mind, my brother is almost 30 years old and is unlikely he would be doing anything like that. He's never done anything like that before. But there was no one home. I was so confused because I did have water on my nightstand, but it was a bottle, and the glass was empty when I went to sleep. I woke up, changed my clothes, and played some surah. A surah is a chapter from the Quran, which is the Islamic holy scripture. I played the surah until Fajr. Fajr is like the time between dawn and sunset. It's the time where they pray. When my mom woke up, I told her everything. She thought I was confused and I might be sleepwalking, but that was not the case. The next day, my mom was woken up by a figure in a suit, and he had a cat as a head instead of a human head. Huh? A cat head person? I've never heard of that. It was just standing by her bed. She freaked out and woke up my dad, but by this time it had vanished. She told him that she had been woken up in the middle of the night by strange events, but she thought that this might have just been a nightmare. Later that day, she found a white towel soaked in blood in our bathroom. She asked me if I had injured myself, but it wasn't mine. And we both looked freaked out because it looked like someone had cleaned a huge blood spill with that towel. During all this time, our tenant had stopped talking to us completely. Keep in mind, she lived with us for 27 years, so we were all very close. Every time we saw her, she would just be reading something on a rosary now, and if she saw us, she would blow at us sometimes or just continue reading more aggressively. We later found out she was doing black magic on me and my family, and when she moved out, she had kept many of my childhood toys and furniture and other personal belongings, and several of my family's belongings as well. This was all very creepy, so my dad took legal action against her after this, and we kicked her out right away. We then got our entire house cleansed of bad spirits and played Surah at full volume every day for protection. Things stopped happening after that, and I shifted to my brother's old room once he shifted into the new portion. So since most of the incidents took place in my now old room, every time I'd walk in there, I'd get a weird, uncomfortable feeling whenever I'd go there, at night especially, as if someone was watching me. But it has gotten much better over the years, as my nano, or grandma, stays in that room and is constantly praying. Oh my God, this is why you have to be so careful about who's around you, but it's so trippy because they lived with this person for 27 years. You'd think you'd know someone in 27 years. But if I was like an owner of a house and I had a tenant, I'd have like a tenant agreement saying I want to do a walkthrough of your house like once a year, every 6 months or something like that. Because man, you can't trust nobody. Anyways, send me more, guys. These are so good.
If you want to sleep tonight, I would keep scrolling. Now, I've recently had some activity happening in my house, and if you've been following along with my journey, you know I've had paranormal experiences my literal entire life, mostly in a house that I used to babysit for. This time, there is something in my home. This is the first time in years I've had anything that I feel is not a good presence in my home. I'm really good about cleansing my space and keeping the energy good. I don't really know what's going on yet. I haven't even had time, effort, or wanted to put in thinking what this could possibly be. But let me tell you guys what happened to me last night. Sorry. So in my apartment, it's 2-bedroom, 2-bathroom, and the master bathroom, recently, like the knob on my shower broke, so I'm waiting for maintenance to order the new part for it. So it's been a few days, and I'm just using the other bathroom. Thank God I have another bathroom, because in the main bathroom where the knob is broken, it's stuck on like the hottest setting, so it's really like too hot to shower. So I've been using the other shower, and the way this is laid out is like the guest bathrooms like right here, and then there's washer and dryer like right there, like in a little hallway. Then there's another room, another bedroom. So basically, when you're in that bathroom looking out and the door is open, you can see into the other bedroom. I took a bubble bath last night because I went to Vegas this weekend for work, and body is just hurting, right? Walked far, did a lot, and it's F1, so you know, it was just a really busy weekend. I was sore. So I'm making this bubble bath and putting in all my works and doing everything I'm supposed to be doing. And every time I'm in that bathroom, my cats like follow me in there. And sorry, that's when I was walking in. When I was like getting this bubble bath already, the cats like were waiting outside of, you know how I said like it's bathroom, washer and dryer, room. They're waiting like outside the hallway, and they're just looking like they were scared. I can't describe it, but I was like calling them because I'm like, they always follow me everywhere and they're being weird. I was like, you know, whatever. I leave the bathroom door open because it's just me and my man home, you know, I don't need to close the door. And I submerge myself in the water, right? I'm in the bubble bath, and I hear like a clicking sound, almost like a, but more like deep. It's hard to describe. I just heard like a clicking sound coming from that bedroom where I could see right into. However, it's nighttime, the light is off, and in my head I'm just like, oh my God, this is kind of the area where I heard that guttural like choking sound a few days prior came from like the kitchen bedroom area. And I'm just like, man. So I figure it might be my boyfriend, you know? So I call out to him. I'm like, hey, like, are you in there? Nothing. Clicking noise stops. Both of my cats are now in the hallway looking straight into that room, but their bodies are like crooked. It's like their heads are mostly looking in the room. They looked like they were afraid. And my dog is always laying in that room. My dog ran out of the room. I'm like, lovely. I'm trying not to look in the room because at this point I know I'm not stupid. This has been happening so much. I don't want to look. I don't want to be scared. Then I hear the choking sound again. It sounds like somebody is choking, but it's very deep and disturbing. It's not like a normal person. It sounds like something out of this world. It's like choking and gagging. I start freaking out. I start screaming for my boyfriend because I'm like, I'm just so not doing this right now. Like, I got scared. It's very rare for me to get scared anymore, but that really scared me. Then I hear like, sounds like someone coming. So I'm like, thank God, like my boyfriend heard me, right? I turned to look in the hallway. It's like the opening of the bathroom door, like hallway. And I'm gonna describe to you exactly what I saw. And I'm sorry ahead of time for the nightmares. I see something directly in that room, that bedroom, crouching on the floor. It looks like it was just cramped, right? This thing is crouching on the floor with its knees up. It looked a lot like Red, the really bad entity I dealt with when I was in high school that lived in my house. Hair, red, like afro, orange reddish, more so, not like Ariel red, you know? Orange reddish afro. Eyes wide as can be, going like that. Sorry, I think that's what it was. Its hands weren't this way. Its hands were this way. Like that. Like it was, I looked over and it's crouched down with its hands like that, mouth open, eyes wide. Screamed at the top of my lungs. Right when like I start really, really screaming, like when I look at that, my boyfriend turns the corner. He was like, sorry, I was in the bathroom, like going to the bathroom in the other room. Like, what the fuck's going on? Like, what, are you okay? And I was hysterical. I literally got up out of this bubble bath, completely soaked up, like wet still, soap everywhere. And I'm just like holding on to him. And he's like, what is, my poor man, he's like, what's going on? Like, what? Oh, here's the kicker. My boyfriend doesn't believe in paranormal stuff, right? Like it's not that he doesn't believe me. It's just one of those things where if you don't experience it, it's really hard to think that that's real, you know? As he's holding me, I start hearing the choking sound again. He turned around and looked in the room and was like, did you hear that? So, yeah, when I get home from work today, we're gonna be doing some serious cleansing of my house because that is not a sight I ever want to see again. And the noises that this thing keeps making is truly like, I think the worst part. The choking, like, gutter, I can't get it out of my head. And I don't know if it's Red. I don't know if he came back. I don't know if it's something pretending to be Red because it knows what scares me. I have no idea. I will keep you guys updated though. Bye.
Someone recently left a comment in one of my videos saying that they wanted a creepy camping story. So I found this story and I hope you like it. This girl said that when she was around 12, she had a group of friends and they would always do sleepovers. They would all take turns. So like whenever it was another time for a sleepover, they would be a certain person's house and they would keep going down the list. So a new girl came to school and she joined her group of friends. However, she could never host sleepovers because her mom was like disabled and in the middle of the night she would scream and it was scary for them. They did tell her that they can just skip over her and she can continue going to everybody else's sleepovers, but Samantha really wanted to host a sleepover. So Samantha thought, what if I hosted our sleepover at my aunt and uncle's house? But instead of being indoors, we can have like a camp out and we could stay outside. Obviously they all agreed because it sounded like so much fun. So Samantha's aunt and uncle live out in the middle of nowhere, so they did have to ask for their parents' permission fine, and thankfully they agreed to let them go camp out. So the day comes and all the girls are at Samantha's house getting ready, getting flashlights and tents, and that's when Samantha's older brother came into the house. The girl that's telling the story didn't know that Samantha even had an older brother, but she could tell that all the other girls had a big crush on her older brother. I guess because of that, the older brother started talking to the girl that's telling us the story, and he was asking them what they were doing. So she starts telling him that they're gonna go camp out at his aunt and uncle's house, and she says that when she says that, his face, it looked like he was concerned. He then asked her, is there an adult that's gonna go with you guys? And before she could even answer, he just looked at his sister and said, hey, is dad gonna go with you guys when you go camping? But Samantha came and grabbed the girl's hand and pushed her away from him and said, leave my friends alone, without even answering him, and he left the room. So as they were going outside to get in the car to go, she sees that her brother is out there too, and when he sees them, he gets closer to all the girls and says, hey, when you guys go spend the night at my aunts and uncles, please be very careful and do not leave that house at nighttime. And one of the girls is like, what do you mean? We're going out there to camp out. We're gonna stay the night outside. That was the whole point of us going. And then he said something to them very strange. He told them, you guys should not stay outside because out there on our aunts and uncles' land is the devil. And all the girls were like, what the hell? But the girls telling us this story was like, the devil? So you're telling me that the devil lives at your aunts and uncles' land? And they all started laughing and making fun of him. She says that she didn't mean to say that and for them to start laughing at him, but he was like, okay, well, whatever, just please take care of yourselves, but I've warned you. She says that on their way to the girls' aunts and uncles' house, she wanted to ask the girls what they thought about his warning, but before she could ask, they all started talking about how cute he was and all the crushes they had on him. But she mentions that when she gets to the aunts and uncles' home, she started feeling weird. Like even when she got there, the wind was eerie, like something felt negative there. So at this point, they had been inside the aunts and uncles' home and they had the chimney going and the living room looked comfortable, and all of the girls were like, well, what if we stay in here? Like, it's so cold outside, why are we gonna stay out there when we can stay in here by the chimney? But Samantha was like, no, we worked so hard to get the tents and the flashlights and the fire, so we're gonna camp out outside, and they couldn't convince her otherwise. So she says that they go out there, they set up the tents, the fire, and it wasn't that bad even though the wind was still going crazy. They had a good time for the first few hours, and around 9 p.m. the aunt comes out and gives them hot chocolate, and then a little while later they end up going to bed. So the following is what she remembers from that night. She says that she was asleep and she got woken up very quietly by one of her friends. She says that when she finally opens her eyes, her friend is telling her that she needs to be quiet, gets close to her and whispers in her ear, you need to get up just in case we have to make a run for it. She had no idea what the hell was going on, but when she looked around the tent, she can see one of the other friends crying hysterically but covering her mouth, and Samantha was at the zipper of the tent looking outside. She remembers Samantha telling her and the girls that they need to calm down and soon it was gonna leave. She said because she didn't understand what the hell was going on, she walked towards Samantha to look out of that tent, and she says that her friends tried to stop her but they couldn't. She wanted to see what the hell they were looking at. She says that when she got close to Samantha, who was looking out, Samantha started pointing to like a very dark corner near her aunt's and uncle's home, but that when she looked, she didn't see anything, and she tells her, there's nothing there, what are you looking at? And Samantha's like, look again. And she looks again and sees a very dark figure, almost as tall as the house, in that very darkened spot. She said that it looked like it was almost trying to see inside the house, and at one moment she actually saw horns like a deer. When she saw that, she was like, oh, it's an animal, because she was trying to like be realistic, like what if it's an animal, you know, it's not the devil. However, in that moment she saw where this thing was like almost smelling the air, and when it was smelling the air, it just turned its head to where they were in the tent. In a split second, this thing just jumped onto a tree, and they could tell that it was jumping from tree to tree by the sounds of the ruffling of the leaves. In that moment, they all decided to run to the door and start banging it so that the aunt and uncle can come out. She says that she was so scared, she was looking behind her, making sure nothing was coming out. However, it was weird how fast the aunt and uncle opened that door, almost like they were waiting for them to come inside. She explains that even their spare bedroom was ready for them to go in there and fall asleep. She says that everything was so strange that she remembers it almost like if maybe it was a dream, but the four girls couldn't have had the same dream at the same time. She said that they managed to fall asleep in that bedroom, and out of nowhere, like an hour or two later, they all woke up at the same time and they all heard the same sounds, like if something huge was jumping from tree to tree. She said that after that they didn't hear anything again, but even that was scary because either this thing is staying still so that we don't hear it, or what if it's peeking into the windows of the house like they had seen it do. She said luckily their parents came for them very early in the morning, and after a year Samantha actually moved away. She says that sometimes she tries to justify it maybe being an animal, but there was no way an animal was as tall as the house. She doesn't know what to make of it and now regrets not taking that brother's warning of not staying outside of that house. Anyway, what do you guys think? This story was from Relatos de la Noche. I'm gonna add a screenshot here in the timestamp where you guys can listen to it in Spanish. There is a lot more information in Spanish that I had to take out because this story is a little bit long.